good NFL kickoff Thursday. It's good to have a game on tonight, and it's going to be a fun one. It's of course the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs against Detroit. The game being played at Arrowhead. As expected, NBC will have their top crew out there. It'll be Mike Tirico and our buddy Chris Collinsworth. So that's what's got pretty much all day today. You can't turn on any sports related either television station, streaming service, or radio and not know that today is the first day of the NFL season. And a couple of interesting notes here touch base on with Detroit and Kansas City, as I said, airing tonight, NBC. And that is this year, there will be a few tweaks in the schedule and how things work. CBS will get some games from the NFC. Conversely, Fox will get some from the AFC. So keep watch of where your favorite teams are playing, because sometimes they may not be on the channel you're used to seeing them on. And speaking of channels that you're seeing things on, the season ticket, which of course is one of the NFL's top draws from a standpoint of getting people to watch, is now with YouTube. And so they are the exclusive home for the NFL season ticket. And we will not know how many subscribers. That's one of the things that the NFL is very good at. It's hiding how many people actually subscribe to that package. And so we'll see how that's going. And it should be interesting. So there's some really interesting changes. We have NBC will have, of course, tonight's game. They always have the first game of the season on the Thursday night game. Then next week, it'll revert to, of course, to Prime Video. So it'll be on Amazon. Then NBC gets another night game, Thursday night game, of course, on Thanksgiving night. And then this year, for the first time, there's going to be a Friday night game, and that one will go to, of course, to Prime. That's their situation with that. Okay. Monday nights are always on, obviously, no, ESPN. And the other little wrinkle here this time is Peacock gets a playoff game. So a little bit of everything for everybody. So we get tonight's game is on NBC. Of course, it will obviously be part of Peacock as well. So if you want to stream it, if you're a streamer, then and you've got Peacock, you've got the game. So nothing to worry about there. You're good. So yeah, we've got a lot of fun things coming up in the NFL this year. And 1 year till Tom Brady decides if he's going to go into booth or not. He said he is. So there you go. The Mannings are coming back, and they're going to have a lot of rather interesting people to talk to and enjoy on their show. So we'll keep you posted on that. I'm quite sure that there'll be some really entertaining stuff, because while the Manning cast started off a little bumpy, it has really worked itself out. Just for the record, by the way, guys and gals, the situation with the Manning cast is that the Manning cast is actually produced by Peyton Manning's production company, which is ironically called Omaha, as you might expect. And what happens is they produce the games. I'm sorry, they produce the shows. And ABC, ESPN, Disney, purchases it and airs it on, simulcast, so that you can watch the game either traditionally with Tirico, with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, or you can watch it on ESPN2 with the fabulous boys from the Manning family. So everybody gets a chance to have some fun. All right, so that's it on tonight with the NFL. Later this later in the next couple of days, we'll touch on all the other games that are being played, who's going to be doing what, and where they're going to play. Okay, so this is tonight. It's NBC. It's kickoff night. It's Detroit, Kansas City. Many people think Kansas City is I wouldn't say prohibitive favorite, but would say is a favorite to be back again to the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Detroit seems to garner quite a bit of interest themselves from that standpoint as a possible Super Bowl combatant. So I'm not saying this is a preview of the Super Bowl, which will be held in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, but it should be a good one to start off. So Detroit, Kansas City tonight, NBC, Tirico Collingforth on the call. But if, however, either the game gets boring or you choose to watch college, there's a college football game on tonight for you. It's Murray State at Louisville. Game time is 7:30 on the ACC network. Chris Cotter on the call, along with Mark Heslick. So we've got those guys doing Murray State and Louisville, a game 7:30 kickoff, and Cotton and Herzlich on the call there. So we got a pro game and we got a college game. Now, let's move on. U.S. Open tennis, ESPN, ESPN2. As we speak, as a matter of fact, Flushing Meadows, New York, we're going to have the semifinals and the finals over the weekend, and looking to have a very exciting finish there. There's pretty much there hasn't been many surprises on the men's side. It's been kind of, excuse me just for a second, get a little water here. It's been chalk all the way there. Women, we'll find out as they're playing their semifinals right as we speak. So we'll get to that tomorrow and let you know who's in that. But the finals on Saturday for the women, on Sunday for the men. All of it's on ESPN. Now, to the credit of the ESPN crews, first of all, they've been baking. The video crews have been baking out there in the sun. It's been plus 90 all week on the East Coast here and up in Flushing. The court temperature, I believe they said, had hit the high was up around 116, which is brutally hot and not healthy, as a matter of fact. They went to the ABC weatherman, who was more than helpful in explaining why it was so important that people not exert themselves. Interesting here, going, okay, well, they're playing tennis, perhaps that is exerting yourself. But like I said, the gang at ESPN and ESPN2 have done a good job of not hiding the fact that this may not be the most healthy way to go for the players, and the players have voiced their opposition to this, saying that it's something that isn't really healthy, and there was some concern that they might not even, the players themselves would say, look, this is nuts, we're not going to play. But thus far they are, so we'll see how that goes, and it should be a lot of fun to see this weekend when those two teams get together. I'm sorry, when those two finals come about. In the old days, and when I say old days, I'm not talking that long ago, about 5-10 years ago. This used to be a big CBS thing. CBS used to have the U.S. Open for years, and what would happen on NFL Sunday would be that the first game would be the early game at 1 o'clock, and then at 4 o'clock they come on and do the men's finals of the U.S. Open. So that was the way it used to go. And now with ESPN and ESPN2 involved, they don't have to do that. And so this week, CBS and Fox will both have quite a few late games. As a matter of fact, the CBS game, a game this week, will be a late game, which is the first time that's happened in a number of years. So that's how that's working out. Let's move on. Charter and Disney. That's an interesting topic from standpoint. Charter is trying to work a deal out with Disney where they try to unbundle the bundle, and that means there are eight Disney channels, 6 of which are ESPN channels, and they are attempting to work a way out where they can pay less than the $2.2 billion that they pay on an annual basis to Disney. Now, the one part of this is that Charter wants to offer the Disney bundle, which is Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus, on their platform, but make it free to those who sign with Charter, and that's a full stop at the moment for Disney. So this one, we've had many situations where folks have been, cable companies and programmers have battled. There's one right now, in which case DirecTV doesn't have any of the Fox programming on. So if you happen to be a DirecTV subscriber and you're a fan of let's say the Dallas Cowboys or wherever you are in the country, you're not going to get that game on Sunday because they're having a carriage dispute. Now, the one with Charter and Disney is really kind of epic because it began last week, right before the Florida Gators and Utah game, and folks didn't get to see that game. There's a class action suit that had been filed in the state of Florida by Florida football fans saying that they had been denied something they're paying for. So as this little kabuki dance goes on, I think if there's going to be a winner out of it, and we'll see, we'll definitely see, it might very well be that Charter holds the way this situation. Now, Comcast, Cox, and the others, Comcast being the largest cable company, are probably rooting for Charter to win. Now, because Charter sells more broadband than they do programming from a standpoint of the cable service, if Charter just went in the broadband business and got out of the broadcasting and retransmission business, they would still be very profitable. So I think that's why Charter is digging their heels in and saying, look, we're going to do this. Now, Charter's actually been telling people, if you want to watch, ESPN or Disney programming, you can go to Fubo, or to the Sling. So they've actually been pointing people in the direction of other streaming services, as opposed to their own company, which is kind of an interesting way. Now you can, we'll get into that in a little bit later, but you can do that should you wish, and take a trial of 7 days and maybe cycle your way through this whole process until if you're a Charter subscriber, until you get to a resolution between the two sides. So that soap opera is continuing. Let's some of the options, and I came up with a few of them for you. Again, YouTube TV or Hulu TV Live are your best bets if you want something that's going to mimic, from a streaming standpoint, the cable aspect. They have everything that most cable services have. They also have a cloud DVR so that you can record. The Hulu TV Live comes with the bundle, so you get Disney Plus, you get ESPN Plus, you get Hulu, and that's about a $70 a month bill. YouTube TV is about $70. They all carry the ESPN brands as well as carrying other content. So they are not bad options if you are, as I said, if you are a a person who has, are just cutting the cord and don't know quite what to do, well, you can download this on, on a streaming stick, which I would recommend Roku, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with Fire Stick. Roku seems to be easier, but nothing wrong with Fire Stick, which is an Amazon product. And you download them and you get a free, 7-day trial. And like I said, you can cycle through 4 or 5 of these and figure out which one you want, if you want any of them. So something to look forward to in that regard. Now, let me give you the best. Let me give you another hack. If you want, we talked about DirecTV. If you're not going to be able to watch the Fox game, right, because you have DirecTV and they're blanking it out, short of leaving your house, one of the things you can do is you can actually buy rabbit ears or a flat antenna. Those things cost about somewhere between 10 and 25 bucks. You can find them on Amazon. And you can actually watch just free TV. So it's worth that part to put the rabbit ears or the flat antenna. Now, the difference would be that the rabbit ears have a range of about 20 to 40 miles. Okay, so if you're relatively close to the city or in the city, then you're cool with having some rabbit ears. If you're outside that range, if you're out, say 25, 30, anywhere 35 miles out of town, you're gonna want to get the flat antenna because it's got a larger footprint and gets you deeper and larger range. So that's what you're going to do. So rabbit ears if you're close to town. If you're not, use the flat antenna, and they have tons of them at multiply different prices. You can get some reasonably inexpensive, and then some that cost quite a bit. But suggest that you look into that. It doesn't cost anything. You hook up to the back of the TV, and you're good to go with the local TV stations. Now, if you get that done, if you don't mind, and you've got rabbit ears or you've got your antenna going so you can see the local TV, then I suggest your best combo would be, say, rabbit ears and Sling, because Sling is an inexpensive service and has plenty of content from the standpoint of sports. You've got all the ESPN networks. You've got the Big Ten Network. You've got the folks at the ACC networks, the SEC network, Pac-12, all of the networks for the Pac-12, all 7 of them, and Big Ten. So you've got all that. Plus, you also have a number of soccer games that will be available to you through a number of different services that they have on there. So you really have a good shot with Sling. And Sling has an area which is called the Sports Zone. So you can literally scroll across and find what's going on Sling that time. It even tells you what the score is if you happen to, if the game is in progress. So it's a very user-friendly interface, and something that I think could be very helpful. So check Sling TV out with rabbit ears, or again, Fubo is not a bad one, and it's also, those two are probably in the $40 to $45 range, as opposed to the $70, $75 range, which is where we were with of course, DirecTV. I'm sorry, not DirecTV, but YouTube TV and Hulu TV Live. Okay, so that's that. Now, if you happen to be a little bit more sophisticated, what you're going to want to do is try an IPTV subscription with Fire Stick. Now, IPTV is legal if they have, they pay copyright fees. Okay, so what you need to do when you're looking for something like that is go to your Google in IPTV and what it'll come up with, it will give you a list of the IPTV services that are legal services, and you can use them. And they had to be side loaded, which in other words means that it's a third party app. So Fire Stick allows for that. Uh, Roku does not. If you're just downloading it on your tablet or on your phone, you don't have to worry about any of that. You'll just download it like you'll download a player from the Play Store, which you will get for free, and then the IPTV will be downloaded into that. So that's your pro hack if you want to go a little bit further down the road. But that again, that's something that is you need to know how to stream and how to load things onto a stick, and that does take a little bit of time, not making it sound like it's uh, rocket science, because it's not, but it does take some patience and some time. Wouldn't be a bad idea to put it on a on your phone or on your tablet first and see how you like it, and then if you do like it, then go for it. If you don't, well, then nothing venture, nothing gain again, because they do free trials. So that's some of our hacks and some of our situations of what's going on. Baseball wise this weekend, looks like the Mariners and the Orioles will be the big weekend game. Orioles trying to hold on to the East in the American League, and the Mariners trying to take first place in the West. So some really good baseball coming up. So we got baseball, we got college football, we got the NFL, we've got U.S. Open men's and women's finals. Very, very busy, very, very busy weekend. So let's go to our comments and our questions. All right, so let's go. Here we go. All right. The Rockies are without TV home in 2024 as AT&T Sportsnet Rocky Mountain closed its doors in October. The same fate, by the way, could be facing the Pirates as well as the Astros and Rockets. So what's going on? So, well, let's see. According to Daniel. Okay, Daniel, how you doing? All right. The RSNs are worth more money, but they're bankrupt, so that's why they need that backup plan. That's correct, they do. And the backup plan is being provided to baseball by Major League Baseball, so that's a good thing. And if they are able, Daniel, to do the same kind of work that they did for the Padres and for the Arizona Diamondbacks, then nobody missed a game, missed a pitch. So they're going to have an entire off season to figure out what to do with the Rockies, because right now the Rockies will stay where they are for the remainder of this month, and they'll close their doors on in October. What isn't known at the moment, because the Pirates and the Astros and the Houston Rockets all have contracts that come up a little bit later in the fall and early winter there months. We don't know where they're going to be headed. Now, the Pirates were offered an opportunity to join NESN, which owns the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll have to see if the Bucks decide that they want to become part of that regional network, or if they want to work with Major League Baseball. Same with the Astros. Astros could, and there's been some talk about the Astros and the Rockets putting together their own little pay-per-view season ticket project. We don't know what's going to happen down there either at this point in time. So, there's a lot coming up here, and we're going to find out as the RSNs continue to crumble here. So there's that. Now, Brian Roberts, who is the CEO of Comcast, said that, he hoped, and he said this yesterday, that the Disney company and Charter could come to a resolution around the dispute, because it's for the good of the viewers. And I'm sure that, Comcast has been very good about it. By the way, Comcast, like all the others, have had disputes before. So even Comcast has had a dispute. So, I'm sure that CEO Roberts would like to see that thing resolved, because I don't think instability in the cable industry is what, Brian Roberts wants to see right now, or for that matter, any of the folks. But I think Charter is doing what Charter has to do from a business standpoint, and can't fault them for that. So let's get, some very good questions. Let's see, let's go right here to, okay. Larry Pilgrim. Okay, Larry Pilgrim, how are you? Is Cal and Auburn going to be a featured game this week? And where is it going to be? Well, it is, and it is, okay? Cal and Auburn will play the 10:30 game on ESPN, so it's going to be Pac-12 after dark, and both Cal and Auburn won their first games. Cal, impressive in their win over North Texas. Auburn, not so impressive, but they got by, Southeastern Louisiana. What's kind of going to be cool, it's going to be a gold out in California at Berkeley. What they're going to do is everybody's going to be waving those gold towels, much like they do in Penn State, where they have a whiteout. But the thing that I'm looking forward to, and of course it could be a very good football game, but the thing I'm looking forward to is they have 500 drones that they're going to be doing aerial exercises, like showing you the Golden Gate Bridge, all of this in the dusk and early darkness of out there in Palo Alto. So there'll be, I'm sorry, not Palo Alto, but out by Berkeley. So it's going to be fun to watch the Bears and the Cal team play, and stick around for halftime, because that to me is going to be something to see. So thanks, Larry, for asking the question. So it's on ESPN, by the way. All right. Hank Wilson, how you doing, Hank? Yeah. MLB officially specifically overestimated their TV drawing power. Times have changed so dramatically that over the past 10 years or so many viewing options, paying extra for our sense doesn't make sense. People don't want to go out of their way to watch the MLB or NBA. Well, the problem was giving away too much money from the rights situation. I mean, the rights thing got blown out of proportion, and they were paying unrealistic rights. I mean, the Dodgers signed a $6 billion 10-year deal with, of all people, Spectrum, right? When Spectrum used to be in that business. And the Lakers, did a $3 billion deal. So from there, Fox rushed to try to stay competitive, and teams that were, certainly not worthy of getting that kind of money, or had never gotten that kind of money in the past, suddenly, they were throwing money around like crazy. Well, that's what got them into trouble, and that's why they are presently in bankruptcy court. We will see if they're able to come out of that and live to see another day, or if it turns, pear-shaped and things don't get done. But for right now, the RSNs, all of them, with the exception of a few, Yes Network in New York, SNY in New York, and MASN in the Baltimore, Washington area, as well as the folks at Madison Square Garden Network and the Yes Network. Those are all still in place. And then, of course, we have the Comcast NBC ones, which are out in the Bay Area, then again in Chicago and Philadelphia. So those three, total of about 7, are still, in good shape. The rest of them, not so much. So we'll have to keep an eye out for what happens with the RSNs, especially when we get closer to basketball and hockey season, when things are going to have to be a little bit more tightened up. So let's check out here, and there's just some more of our questions. And keep an eye out, folks, this weekend for Coach Prime. He's got maybe Saturday. They'll be playing against Nebraska. That's going to be interesting because that game is a noon kickoff in the here in the East. But what's really crazy is a 10 a.m. kickoff out there in Boulder, Colorado. So should be fun. I'm not quite sure people are going to want to be up at 10 a.m. and in their seats for breakfast time game or brunch time game between Colorado and Nebraska. And the funny thing is, if you would have thought at the beginning of the season that would be the prime game on Fox at noon, you have 1-win Colorado team and a 2-win Nebraska team, and they're your two big draws. People would have thought you're totally out of your mind, but the ability of Coach Prime to get his team ready and turn it over and turn things around as quickly as he did at Colorado is nothing less than miraculous. And the fact that they'll be playing a Big Ten team in Nebraska, who also got a new coach who's looking okay. They lost their first game, but they played quite well, and so we'll see how that goes. Matt Rhule's coaching out of Nebraska now, so some fun is being had there. But in front of a full house, Colorado Buffaloes, that should be a fun game. So yeah, it's a 10 o'clock start locally, and 12 noon, high noon here in the East Coast. So let's take a quick look at some more. How does Stanford and Cal joining the ACC make sense geographically? Well, how does USC and UCLA join the Big Ten make sense? I'm sure that USC and Rutgers are going to be a big draw whenever you go from Los Angeles to northern New Jersey. So yeah, it doesn't make sense, guys. I agree with you. It doesn't make sense, but it's the way they're doing things now, chasing the money, and it doesn't really matter whether or not it logistically makes sense. But I feel sorry for the athletes because they're the ones who are going to have to be on these planes going back and forth across country, and there will be, I would imagine, some neutral site opportunities where they'll go and do games in, let's say, Dallas, or if it may be Chicago for basketball, whatever. But neutral sites so that neither team has to travel far. Okay, what we got? Who's the American trying to get to take over for the loss of SMU? And Curtis asked that question. Curtis, it looks like it's going to be Army. So they would have Army and Navy in the same conference, which would be kind of fun. Now, that being said, the Army-Navy game, which is played, as most of you know, 1 week after the conference championship games, would stay in the same place. So in other words, that, even though it would be a conference game, it would not, that date's not going to move because that date's been there for almost, half a century. So they're not going to move that. So it stays basically in the second week of December, and that's where it's going to be. So to answer your question, probably it will be Army. And as I said before, but they will not move the game to a regular in-season time. They'll do it out of after the season has concluded and after the championship games for all the conferences have been played, which is what they do now. So that's going to be what what we're looking at. Eric from Utah. The Pac-12 is throwing one hell of a goodbye party, kicking off their last football season and going 12-0 in week one, becoming the only undefeated conference in the FBS and tying the SEC for the most schools in the top 25 with 6. Do you see this going on? Continuing. They got all the good quarterbacks out there, it seems. And so, yeah, plus plenty of, I think every one of the teams, I'm almost positive, every one of the teams playing this week from the Pac will also either be on Fox, ESPN, or the Pac-12 network. So if you, as we get closer to the weekend, I'll give you a list. But right now, it certainly looks like any one of those teams that you want to follow, you're going to have a pretty good opportunity to do it. So from that standpoint, good on you. Well, thank you. That Sean Scally has decided he's going to subscribe to us. And by the way, well, Sean was kind enough to do that. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, and you'll get notifications. You'll know what's going on. Comment in the comment section. I'd be happy to answer those questions for you. Web travel, what do you got going for me? I don't really understand this. It's not Comcast's problem, but the issue remains Comcast stands to benefit from Spectrum's stance. But if Comcast is much different because they also operate NBC's cable channels and local channels. That's true, web travel. And they benefit from bundle. There's no question about that. But what they're trying to do more than the bundle is to reduce the cost of what their competitors are, what they're paying their competitors. They don't want to, in other words, they don't want to fuel the competition by paying the competition, outrageous money. So while they stand on the sidelines watching Spectrum, there is a differentiation, and you're right, because they are in the programming business and Spectrum isn't. So there is that. But look for them to cheer that Spectrum wins, because that will allow Comcast to possibly reduce the amount of money they have to pay to other competitors, which includes CBS and Fox. So we're not just talking about streaming services, we're talking about actual broadcast stations and such. So it's a lot more in detail than perhaps would meet the eye, certainly at first. Okay, let's see what we got here. The Dodgers and Lakers guy. Well, Dodgers and Lakers guy says maybe that the Colorado teams can move to the altitude network. They could. That's a very, very good opportunity for them. Honestly, the only one that wasn't on altitude was the Rockies. So theoretically, altitude could onboard the baseball. I think that probably altitude and Major League Baseball will have some conversations about that, Greg. But the thing here, Greg, to understand is that Major League Baseball would like to keep, if possible, the rights to their own teams. And the reason for that is they want to offer a baseball package that mirrors the package that the MLS has with Apple TV. And that's where all the games are produced. All the games are done by the league and then offered in a package. And that way they can give you your local games along with national games as well. So all you need to do, if you want to watch the games, any game for that matter, is pay their $125 a year subscription rate, and then you'll get all the games no matter who you are a fan of. So I don't know that they would go to Altitude Sports. That's Stan Kroenke's group over there. It's it's a good regional sports network. It's been there for a while, but I don't think that fits with the narrative of Major League Baseball. Now, it's every person for themselves when it comes to the NBA basketball and the NHL. So from that standpoint, we'll have to see how that plays out. But altitude, certainly with Stan Kroenke, Stan Kroenke's backing has done quite well out out there in the Mountain Time Zone area. Okie dokie dokie. Time for a few more questions. Let me see if I can find winners this week. Okay. Galen King gives us the winners of the week. Number one, Colorado's winner with TCU. We concur with that. East Carolina's loss to Michigan was the most streamed game in Peacock history. True. Very good. Number three, NBC's Big Saturday was the most watched primetime game since 2015. Actually, that that actually was broken. That particular record was broken the following night by ESPN when FSU beat LSU, and so that was a record that lasted less than 24 hours. And another winner was CBS for broadcasting and keeping college football on their network by doing the 3:30 game on the Big Ten. So yeah, I would agree with that. Those are all winners. There's no losers in that bunch. So all right, let's see what we got. One more. Here we go. We got Terrence. If Spectrum and Disney dispute drags on many weeks, which side is more likely to surrender and demands the other? I would say it's probably going to be ESPN, and they would drop the amount of cash that they're asking for. Big Ten media rights deal is up in 2030. What's impact will collapsing cable bundle have on the outcome of Big Ten TV deal? Will TV revenue payouts for each school fall more than 50%? I don't think so. I think what they'll do is they will. They've got 4 partners now. They may bring in an Apple or an Amazon or even a YouTube to carve out some different pieces. They may also remember Big Ten Network and Fox. They don't stream any games at all, so it's possible that they could find a streaming partner that would work with them on that. So I think it'll drop. I don't think it's going to be more. I think that the bubble has burst on that, but I don't think it's going to fall 50%. It might fall 25%. I could see that, but I don't think it's going to fall that far. I don't think it's going to go to half. I think it might fall a quarter of the way, because what they'll do is backfill it with by selling additional games to the streaming services. So that would be, to me, the way it would go. But I agree that they're not going to get as much, but I don't think it's going to fall below 25%. Here's a good one. Okay, but what do we got here? Are the Blue Blood brands of the Big Ten going to demand unequal revenue sharing in the 2030 deal? Well, I don't. Historically, the Big Ten has always looked out for each other and have not gone that route. But you've onboarded SC and UCLA and Oregon and Washington. Now remember that Oregon and Washington didn't get a full share of this TV deal, so they'll get a bump in the next deal. So I don't see them demanding anything. I don't see that. I could only see this if it dropped, if the deal post 2030, if that deal dropped below that 25%, which I don't think it will. I could see that happening, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think they'll be able to maintain the less than 25% decrease in what the 2030 deal would be. But by adding, as I said, other partners, they could have added partners this year and it exceeded that deal that they already had, which was a record-breaking deal, but they chose not to. And I think the reason they did that is they wanted to find out where the streaming service is going to be 5 years from now. And so that, I think, was probably a smart move. So that way they can tap the streaming services who have been shut out of the Big Ten in that. Plus, you have to remember Tony Petitti, who is the commissioner of the Big Ten, is a former television executive. So I believe Tony will be able to right that wrong and make sure that the Big Ten does not ask for unequal revenue sharing in their post 2030 TV deal. So I think that the Blue Bloods have leverage over the small brands, and they've used it. I mean, let's look at it this way. I mean, we just talked about Washington and Oregon taking less money to join the team. I mean, to join the Big Ten Conference. So from that standpoint, the leverage is there, and they've been able to do that. When they onboarded Rutgers and Maryland years ago, they took lesser. They didn't get the full share until 8 years into the deal. So I think that everybody will be fine in the Big Ten. I don't think they need, when you're making that kind of money, you don't need to worry about unequal revenue sharing. It would only be if you're like the ACC and the Big 12 and things like that, where you really do need to reward, a reward-based system where the teams that win time and time again are the teams that you allow to have a little bit bigger piece of the pie, because there's no pie if they don't win, and they keep winning year in, year out. So I would hope that would be the case, but I don't see that's the case in the Big Ten. It's just the Big Ten has never done it that way. Does that mean that they won't? No, it just means that they haven't done it, and I think from their standpoint, they hope they won't have to do it. So we will wait to see, but I don't think that they need to do any. Who will be asking for unequal revenue sharing. Does the Big Ten buyers remorse after Maryland? No. Maryland was brought in, and Rutgers were brought in for two reasons. One, Rutgers was brought in to get the New York market so that they could have it for the Big Ten network, which worked out perfectly. The Maryland edition was also brought them a top 10 market, and just as equally important, it brought them a school that they could use. But the Big Ten has lobbying that they do on Capitol Hill, and there's nothing better for them than to take a group of Congress people or whomever over to Byrd Stadium and watch a game at the University of Maryland. So that those were two strategic picks. They were strategic because it expanded the Big Ten network, and in the case of Maryland, it got them a home team for their negotiations and their constant lobbying purposes on Capitol Hill. So strategically, Maryland made that jump. The other reason was Penn State actually was pushing for Maryland because they wanted to have a rival, and they felt that Maryland would be a good rival. So it was a combination of those two things. And actually, Maryland, going back to when they added Nebraska, the first time they made their realignment move, Maryland was on the short list at that point too. So it could have been Maryland and Nebraska. They just decided, because Maryland was making a president change at the university, that the timing wasn't right. So the timing wasn't right, and so when the time was right, they brought them in. So that's where that was. And as I said, the Rutgers deal was to get them into New York. They probably could have done that, by the way, with Syracuse instead of Rutgers, but they chose to do it with Rutgers. So that's that deal, and why they pulled it off. All right, we got time for a couple more quick questions. You guys have been asking really good questions. Okay. Moen Sports, what you got for me, buddy? $1 billion nonprofit that decides the outcome via coin flip on and off the field play is Stanford. Okay, well, I'm not quite sure, Moen, how to answer that question. I mean, yeah, Stanford is in the ACC, and yes, they have $1 billion in their, in their sports budget, which is quite a bit, no question about it. But I don't think they bought their way in. I mean, they got there by merit, and so there you go. Do I see Johnny Jones? Do I see this happening before Saturday? Meaning, getting back on cable? No, I don't. I think that they're gonna look. They've gone this far. They're continuing to talk. I mean, by the time the show ends, they could have already done a deal. But if they've gone this far, I just don't see them backing down. I'm talking about Charter backing down at this point. They've gone quite a ways. So to answer your question, Johnny, no, I think we're good on that. I think that Charter is going to dig their heels in and just basically hang in there through the weekend. And it'll be a tough time for those fans who want to watch sports this weekend on Charter, because they're not going to be able to do it unless you use the hacks that we gave you, which are some options, and they're free, which is even better. So you can go there and check that out. But no, I wish I could say yes, but again, I don't think it's going to happen. Could it happen? Absolutely, it could happen anytime. But we'll see. We will definitely see. Good question. All right, let's see, guys. Let's see. We got everybody. Well, we got everybody for right this minute. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We will be back tomorrow, 10 o'clock, for the Stream On show, and 2 o'clock for the soccer show. All right. So that's tomorrow. Everything will be back to normal, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks so much for joining us. A lot of good questions. If you have any more questions, as always, feel free to leave them in the comments, and we will answer them, as quickly as we possibly can. And also, subscribe, hit the bell, and like us. Okay, we greatly would appreciate that as well. All right. Well, have a wonderful and safe Thursday afternoon. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about the weekend, and boy, is it a jam-packed one. So be sure to join us. Have a wonderful day. See you later.